With us to talk about the civil rights movement in Tennessee, the author of this book, Dr. Bobby Lovett. Dr. Lovett is a professor in history at Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. Lovett, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Well, thank you, Dr. Haney.
And Dr. Lovett, to tell you how delighted we are to have you here, I think most of our viewers will be reminded that over the last many years that you've been here on many occasions, and you've left them with excellent information. I'm reminded of just one or two that you've done that will sort of fall within the same category as what we're going to do today, and that is some kind of historical statement in reference to it. And I think that you've talked about the Declaration of Independence with us, African Americans in the Constitution, and just about every aspect of the American history experience, centering primarily upon the African American. And I'm sure that with what you're going to give us tonight, this morning, will be a continuation of that, dealing with the civil rights movement in Tennessee, your book dealing with the narrative history of that movement. But before we get involved in that, Dr. Lovett, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important that eventually led you to write this, along with many of the other books that you've written, and talk about those books as well.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School. I did my undergraduate work at Arkansas A&M State College in Pine Bluff, and went on to do my graduate work, master's, PhD at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. I taught school in Memphis for about 1 year, returning home. Left there, went to Eureka College to start my college teaching career in Illinois. And I came to Tennessee State University in 1973, and I've been there since then. So I've been at Tennessee State University going on 33 years. And I really became interested in history because I'm from a very large family that comes out of West Tennessee. And I grew up in my early years, until I was about elementary school, living in a home that had 4 or 5 generations under one roof. And some of the older people in the family, like my great-great-uncle Julius, he would always tell us all these tales about West Tennessee and going back to slavery and all of that. And I think that sort of pricked my interest as a young 3-, 4-, 5-year-old child. And when I got to college, I eventually changed my major from engineering to history because it was just in me to be a historian, and I've been a historian ever since.
And of course, you've been very active in your history career. And we've talked about a number of books that you have written, that you've talked about with us on this particular show, African Americans in Nashville, and some of the others. Let's talk about some of